Yeah, I've decided that I'm gonna try to do this one more time. I'm gonna try to do these challenges until Friday, next Friday, and that's gonna give me around 8 hours per challenge. But since I've already spent a bunch of time on this one, I'm gonna just try for 3 more hours, and then if I can't make it, I'm gonna copy the solution from Faraday Academy. I already watched some of her solution, and I have to be honest, I'm not sure if I'm gonna be able to make it because it's a lot harder than I thought it would be. But she did use this thing that previously I said that it's kind of like a hack, but apparently it's okay to do it. So I think I'm gonna try to do it this way. And she also used try and accept. I think that's how it calls. That's how they call try and accept blocks. So I think I might try to do that as well. I'm gonna try to do it the same way that she did, but without looking at her code. And then if I can't do it for next 3 hours, then I'm gonna copy what she did and move on to the next one. So I think if I do it that way, I'm not gonna do all this for. I'm not gonna need all this for loops with this regex to figure out the position of each thing. Let me think. She also used something like this with split, and she also used a for loop with two values and an enumerate function, which I don't know what it does. I think watching a video is better to understand. So enumerate adds counter to the iterable. So it's pretty much a way to count. Shouldn't it be 4 here instead of 5? Or even 3 because it starts at 0. So the second variable is the stuff on the list or the dictionary. The first variable is the count. Also, she saw that she said that I need to put two variables in here, and I'm not exactly sure why they didn't do this. So I think she did it like this, but I'm not sure if it's necessary to do it like this. I don't know if this is a special thing from Python or not. I took a picture from the course of the reserved words for Python. So apparently this args is not here. I guess it's just a good way to call other arguments instead of a function. The thing is, I don't wanna erase this stuff if I might need it in the future. But commenting everything out kind of looks ugly as well. I found so far that the more code that I have, the more difficult it is to understand what's going on a single page. I'm not sure how common this is. I think it's probably common. Or maybe people just do a bunch of files once things get bigger and bigger. So another thing is that I don't know how to look for which ones are passing and not. It's kind of confusing to understand the response that I get after running. I think I'm gonna erase the ones that are not passing and try to keep the ones that are passing. But it doesn't show here the ones that are passing. That's the problem. I saw from what I saw her doing. She what? Oh, I think you can put anything here and it's gonna pass. So it doesn't matter much. I'm also not doing this for the title anyway. Doing for to learn how to code better. I'm just gonna I think I'm gonna comment this out. I don't wanna erase the things that I've done so far. This one is right, I think, the first one. So I think this one and this one are most likely should be the ones that are passing. The other ones are not. Yeah, the issue that this is connected to this one. So I'm gonna have to comment everything out, I think. Yeah, I'm gonna comment everything out and then just start again. I think it's better. I think the way she did it is she split after going through the loop, she split the value, which is for her the string by space, and then she attached that to a variable.
Item or value tuples when looping over an object like a list. So we'll give an example of what that looks like. We have a list of characters here, and if we use enumerate on it and then we'll pass that into the list function. It'll give us basically everything in our list, but also with the corresponding index. So we can see here we have the same things in the list, and it is also paired with the corresponding index. So at index 0 is Krillin, at index 1 is Goku, etc. So how this construction is most often used is when you want to loop through an object like a list with a for loop, you can actually use enumerate to get both the index and the object itself at the same time. So if we wanted to do that, we could say for index, comma, character in this case, because our list is a list of characters, in enumerate characters. So basically this index comma character is extracting the 0, the index, and for the first one anyway, the Krillin string, that is extracting the two tuple into these two identifiers. So then within the for loop on each iteration, we can use the index and the corresponding value. In this case, we're just going to print the index and the corresponding character to the screen. So it's going to essentially amount to something quite similar to what we saw above. So you might be asking, why might you want to use enumerate? Well, there's any number of reasons you might want to get both the index and the value when you're using a for loop. One reason you might want to get both the index and the value over a for loop is if you need to store both of them in some way, or perhaps use one as a key to store the other in something like a dictionary. So in this example, we have a new list of characters, but there are various duplicates in here, like Goku appears several times. And what if we made...
Pause this real quick. I think I'm gonna do the answer here first, which is gonna be the thing I'm gonna return. And I'm not really sure if that's how I'm supposed to do. I don't know if it's backticks or normal string. This is much easier because I can write the way that it's supposed to be. Apparently is not backticks that is used. Maybe it's a dollar sign, some shit like that. No, we'll look this up. I think I'm gonna look this up first. So from what I understand so far, the first number is the index, second one is the value of the list. And I think I need to use the args argument to show the answer. If the args is true, then I show the answer. If the args is false, then I don't do the calculation. And I'm not sure how she did it, but I forgot how she did it, the calculation, but I think I'm gonna try to do it with if statements. If the operator is plus, then I make the sum of the two numbers. The operator is a minus, and make the minus. So the first one is gonna be the index. The second one is gonna be the value on the list. Yeah, the issue that I don't get still is how to attach this to a variable. Each one to a different variable. I can split the problem to get each string that like the same way I was doing before. But then I'm gonna still need regex to
Date has a position of index 0. Dear, we insert a name here. Your appointment has been booked on a particular date at a particular time. Please make sure to reach 15 minutes before the appointed time. Now, how can I add name, date and time for different bookings using the same template? That is a question. So let's look at this. Let's first print this out. Okay. Let's print this out. Let's remove this initially. I'll explain why. Now, when you're printing it out, you can see that it's not in the proper format. I mean, it's not in the template. You can see that after name, the sentence continues, but I want it in the second line. So what can we do? One method is you can insert an escape sequence, and that is you put a backslash and n. Now if you run it, what happens that you can see that it comes down. Okay, it goes to the second line. But even better method is by using triple quotes. Now what do you mean by that? Just let's write print, and now I'm pressing single quotes 3 times. 1, 2, 3. Now if we copy, let's copy this and paste it here. You can remove this escape sequence and you just press enter. You can see that it has done what we want. But even better is, let's enter here also and run it again. Now that looks much better. Now let's stick with that. Now let's come to the real question. How can I use this template for different persons? Now let's create 3 variables. Let's start with name equal to, just put in quotes, Mr. say Suresh. Then we move on to date. Date is equal to say 19th July 2020. Now next one is time. Time equal to, let's say 10 AM. Okay. These are the 3 variables that we require. Now I'm going to show you one of the easiest way to do this. Then we'll move on to the usual way that others use. This method is only applicable if your Python is
yes, I can test it out here as well.
updated beyond 3.6. If it is 3.6 or above, then only this function will work. So it's one of the good reasons to update your Python. Now let's copy this. Let's paste it here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to insert curly braces here. I'm going to remove the parenthesis and I'm going to insert curly braces here.
Yes, same
run this.
thing.
At the name, please make sure to reach 15
That I
minutes before the
did.
appointed time. Now let's change the name, date and time. Okay, that's the only thing that you need to do. You can say that there is no much change. Actually, this is not what we decided. Now that is because we have missed out on one single detail, after which the technique is named. And the technique name is known as string literal or strings in general. And what we have to do is you have to insert an F here. That's the only thing that you need to do. Insert an F there. And if you run it again, you can see that now we have the desired answer. See, dear Mr. Suresh, your appointment has been booked on 19th July 2020 at 10 AM. Please make sure to reach 15 minutes before the appointed time. Now let's change the name, date,
So I should put an F there as well. I think it's here. Oh. Yeah. Yeah, that's outside, I think.
date and time. Okay, let's change this to something like, say, Miss Kirti. Miss Kirti, who has an appointment on maybe 28th of July 2020, and let's put it afternoon, say 1:30 p.m. The only thing that you need to do is run this and run this again, and see that your misclear your appointment has been booked on 28 July 2020 at 1:30 p.m. This is one of the easiest methods that is known as, let's write the name again, that is f strings. This is the method name, and this is only available for version of Python which is above 3.6. So Python version. Now what if your version is not 3.6 or above? Now if you're stuck with a version which is below this, you can use the following method. Okay? You use almost the same format. The only difference is that you cannot directly put the name, date or time inside this. You go for the dot format method, and that is right exactly the same thing. Let's copy this again. Okay? But inside you
wanted to make a dictionary where each character is mapped to a list, where the list is the index position of all of the occurrences of that character, because maybe we want to keep track of where that character exists in the list at every single position. So if we run this, we see what right now we have an empty dictionary with each of the characters, and each of them has an empty list. So one way we could populate each of these lists with the appropriate indices for that character is using enumerate. So here's an example of doing that. We'll say for index and character in enumerate characters, and then we're going to say character map character dot append index. So basically what that's doing is it's saying, okay, for this character through our for loop, we'll look it up in the dictionary and then just add whatever index we're currently at to the list for that character. So throughout this for loop, it'll populate all these empty lists in this dictionary with all of the indices where that character occurs. So when we run this, we see that our dictionary indeed has been populated for each character. All of the indices where that character appears is now stored in those corresponding lists. This is something you could do by initializing some counter variable and then incrementing it on every iteration of the loop, but using this enumerate construction is just a lot more convenient. So enumerate is a very useful construction that once you get used to using it, you'll probably be using it all the time. If you found this video useful, you can drop a like or hit subscribe, and thanks for watching.
So the question is, how can I use this and create an empty list again? Let me run this and see if it passes the test, just to see if the first one is right. Why is this an error? Oh, it's not indented properly. That's weird. What else should be on this line? Maybe this has should be here. What's wrong with this? something weird here. Maybe it's this comment. This one seems to be. There has to be something here because when I thought typed that, yeah, it's an identification thing. So annoying. What's going on? Oh, I think I'm gonna erase this and see if it works. Maybe it's this. That's weird. Didn't call the function. Let me search this.
Hello everyone and welcome back to another Python Quick Tips. In today's video we're going to be going over the enumerate keyword / function and what that does in terms of its use in a for loop. Now what I want to do is just introduce a problem here that enumerate can solve for us. So essentially, let's say we have a list here like apples, pears, oranges, fruits. We want to loop through the list and we want to get the elements in our list as well as the index of those elements. Very common problem. You need to do this for tons of different exercises, and I'm sure you guys have created a solution like I'm about to introduce here. So one way that we might do this without the use of enumerate is for element in my list, which means we're going to loop through apples, pears, oranges, fruits, all of the elements but not the indexes. We'll print that element out, and then maybe we're going to also check for a certain index to occur. So
You
we
should
say
do
if
it like
it's
this.
index 1, which essentially means whatever the second element is. Let's print the count is 1. That's just something I want to
Something
do.
like
And then
that.
we have this other variable outside of our for loop that's defined, and we count and keep track of what index we're on by doing that. So essentially this count is outside. It keeps track of what number we are on in the list, and then we can look at that and do something
Should
accordingly.
be the other way.
Since we already have the element, we can just print that out by doing element, but this is really not like the best way to do this. Now another way that we could do this is like this. We can say for x in range the length of my list. So rather than looping through the elements, we'll loop through the indexes in our list. And then we say print my list x, which is going to be the element because we're accessing the element at index x. Then we say if x equals 1, which means we're at the second element or the first index of our list, we'll print x is 1. Now these are fine, these work, but I'm going to show you a more elegant solution up here that's much better. So what you can actually do is use an enumerate keyword, which allows you to loop through not only the index but the element as well. So we can say for x element in enumerate, and then we put my underscore list like this. And then I'll just show you what we can actually do here. We can print x element, and I'll show you what this looks like. So I'm going to erase these so that we don't see these. And let's run this. And what we get is 0 apples, 1 pears, 2 oranges, 3 fruits. Essentially, x lines up with the index of the element, and we're able to access both x, which is going to be our index, and the element by simply doing this, x.
Do it enumerate properly. Oh, that's why. Forgot to type enumerate. Comment this out and see if it works now. Yeah. Yeah, this one is passing at least. Why is this giving me this error here? Maybe just from Replit. It's not indented properly, I think. Oh yeah, I didn't put make the variables. Forgot about that. Maybe I should comment this out then first. so much to think about. Forget about the simple stuff. So let me see what this does. Gives me a list with the 3 values here. Oh, I see what's happening now, I think. Oh, but it's just gonna be the first one. The index is gonna be the number of, it's gonna be 0 for the first one. Let me not return anything here and see what happens. Yeah, so it loops through all of them. Get it now. So each time I'm gonna loop, that's how you attach to a new variable. Because I can test all of them. Another thing that I saw people doing is digit. I think that's how it is. And I think that's how they validate it to see if it's a number or not.
Python by learning how these try exceptions.
The indentation is really annoying as well. Okay. Apparently now there's no problem. So each time this goes through a loop, the index is gonna be the value of the string on the bigger list. And number one, this variable is gonna be equal to the each value of each string. Yeah, so I can assign this to value. And then value 0 is gonna be number 1. Value 1 is gonna be operator. Oh, that should be 1 is gonna be equal to operator. And I think I have to put this inside of the loop as well. Otherwise, I'm gonna need to do different variables for each time. Yeah, this is a much better way to do it, I think, than what I was trying to do before. So what's happening is that it's storing the value. But I'm not sure. Yeah, value is gonna be a list each time that it loops through. The index is gonna be, because there are only three things each time, 3 operations, 3, yeah, 2 numbers and the operator. It's gonna be the same format each time, and then I'm gonna use these values to put on the final string there. Variables. Another thing that she did was to use some, I think she did, I don't remember exactly, but something to do with width, with measuring the width of each line, so that number 1 and number 2 stay on the left and the operator stays on the right. I think I'm gonna have to search that. Oh yeah, I forgot about the dashes as well. So after this, there's a new line with the dashes, I think. And then I have to think about the result as well. I think I can create a variable called result and then do an if statement to determine if I'm gonna show up there that or not based on the args value. Oh yeah, I was forgetting about the conditions as well. The error messages. So if value 0, oh, that should be length. It's bigger than 5. Turn. Numbers cannot be more than 4 digits. I think it's better to do the first one up here. Now, how do I know if it's a digit or not? I can use the regex thing, or I can try the is digit. I think because I know already how to do the regex one, I'm gonna do the digits. Or maybe the way I was doing before wasn't working with the regex. Regedit, whatever you call that. So how I would do is number regex. Then it would be either this one, but this one wasn't working because yeah, it can be this one then, or no, it has to be this. And then I would do if it doesn't, if it contains this, then it returns the message. I can put letters as well here, I think. Something like this.
Element. Really nice, super simple, and this is what enumerate does. I use it like hundreds of times a day when I'm writing code. It definitely does save you a bit of time and just make your code look a little bit cleaner. Now, if we wanted to duplicate the other example that we had, what we could do is just print element. Then we can say if x equals 1, print x is 1 like that. And I believe I had a capital X here, so we'll do that. Okay, so if we run that, we get the same thing. Apples, pears, X is 1, oranges, fruits. And there we go. That is how enumerate works. Hopefully this helped you guys out a bit. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them down below. And as always, let me know if you want.
Now that we know if statements, we can do a lot more with the code. For example, let's get some input from the user.
I think I'm gonna put the different headset. This one is. I really don't like the it's too hot. Just gonna use it for the microphone. Yeah, much better. I just bought this one for the microphone. But really, it's really bad to use it. Just as simple as typing is digit. I think that's how I do it. Is not. The thing is that if I do is digit, I can't do is not. So I can either do this, but I don't think it's gonna work, or I have to know what is digit returns. Yeah, the issue is that I also don't know if this is gonna take into account the dots and commas. So it might be better to do the regex. Might have to search for this. Turns true if other character digits, otherwise false. Yeah, so I can't do this. I could just do number one here. It's done. is easier to read. Invalid syntax. Maybe this has to be uppercase. Well, this. Yeah, it's confusing with JavaScript. So value was this. Mm. Oh, it has to be the other way around. How it should work. Number 32 operator. Plus. The answer is a little bit off. I think it's because I have to do the width thing. The problem is that they're different each time as well. But I think I'm gonna make it a fixed number. And then I'll look at her solution later to see how she did it. So don't remember really well. Yeah, let me see if I put numbers that shouldn't be here. It's gonna work. Apparently it works. Let's try a letter instead. Yeah, nice. So it works. And let's put a bigger number than 4 characters. This is probably not working since there's a lot of loops. Oh, I forgot to make it dependent on both numbers. Now it should work. Apparently it doesn't. Maybe I can print the length and see what it is. Yeah, I think I'm gonna do that. Maybe if I just put 4 there, it's gonna work. Yeah, true. Yeah, now it works. Yeah, bigger than 4 includes 4. No, I think I have to put equal as well, probably. No, apparently it works as well. Yeah. So what else? I think I'm gonna copy this and put here. The other thing that I need to do is put one side by side. If I manage to format them correctly. So they're still failing. I don't understand why they're failing here, but they are working on Python tutor. So weird. I think it's just because of the way that I'm displaying the solutions. Maybe. But it should be returning the message anyway. Even if it's not complete. I think I'm gonna search now for how to put everything on the right side. And then I have to think about, I think I'm gonna push this answer to a list and then I'm gonna join the list together. with four spaces, I think. And that's what I'm gonna return on the final one. The other thing is the result as well. And I think the length of this should be equal to one of the numbers, but I'm gonna do that. So I'm gonna assume I have the errors correctly, and I'm gonna try to do the rest. And too many problems. Gonna contain digits. Numbers cannot be more than 4. Oh, the operator. I forgot to test for the operator. That should be the first one, so I'm gonna do here. Do we use regex? No, I think it's easier to just use the symbols. Question is, can I make uh, the R statement like this? I'm not sure if this works. Nice. So I think this covers all conditions. Now I have to see. Yeah, how to put the solutions to the right. You want to change the headset again? It's kind of annoying to leave this thing on my neck. Although this headset still sucks to listen.
That within our try block, we're going to try to run some code, and this throws an exception right here. So then, if it throws an exception, then we go to our except, and then it's going to print out this line here. Now, this exception here is kind of vague. Now, if you remember, when we ran this code outside of the try except block, we got a file not found error. And we actually want to be as specific as possible when we catch our exceptions, because the goal of the try excepts isn't to just get around all of the exceptions and errors that we could run into. It's meant to catch the errors that we expect and handle them properly. So this general exception here, it's not only going to catch file not found errors, it's also going to catch a lot of other different problems that we could run into. So for example here, if I was to make this the correct file name and then a line underneath here, let's
I think I understand. Now I just have to think about what to search for the line width of a string. Which is not easy to think about.
Hi everyone, welcome. In this video, I'm going to show you how to find length of a string in 4 different ways. So the first approach is we can use a looping statement for loop, and the second approach is to
Yeah,
use a
that's
while
not
loop
what I want.
and slicing up.
I think I'll try to search for Python documentation. I never know if there's an official one or which one is the official. Custom string formatting. Takes a format string and an arbitrary set of positional and keyword arguments. And it's just a wrapper that calls v format. It is exposed as a separate function for cases where you want to pass in a predefined dictionary of arguments, rather than unpacking and repacking the dictionary as individual arguments, using the args and kewargs syntax. Does the word of breaking up the format string into character, data, and replacement fields. It calls the various methods described below. The one that she used was with. So I think that's what I'm gonna search for, but might need to use this for the results if what I'm thinking about doesn't work. To display the result or not. a better idea. Format spec field contains a specification of how the value should be presented, including such details as field width, alignment, padding, decimal precision, and so on. I think we're just gonna read this and put some music. It's probably gonna be hard to find this somewhere else, so I might need to spend a lot of time reading this, trying to understand. So apparently that's how you use it. I think it's better if I put it like this. It's way better to see. Oh, yeah, I need to change the number and the operator. No, just the operator. Yeah, it doesn't do anything. This is not right as well. So it's only checking for the plus, I think. Yeah, now it's gonna work. So let me try to do it the other way. It still doesn't work. Hmm. It's weird because it's exactly the same value. So I don't see why it's not working. Maybe we should do the regex stuff. Now it's gonna work, but so the issue is that I can't put two things there. Or I can do true conditional if statements as well. It's not the best, but I think that's what I'm gonna do. I can use regex instead, but it's just a lot more work. And I'm sure there's probably other ways to do it as well. It's still not working now. Yeah, that's the problem. So how do I say this? I don't think this is gonna work, but it's worth trying, I think. Yeah. So the only solution I can think about is using regex. Because I can search how to use OR, but I think the videos are gonna say the same thing that I already know. Maybe it's worth searching as well.
let's just make a bad assignment. So I'll say var equals bad var. And if I run this, you can see that we get the exact same thing. It hits this exception and then it says, sorry, this file does not exist. Let me fix this little typo here. So what happened here is within our try block, this code actually ran successfully. And this is what threw the exception, but that's not clear right now because this is too general. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to change this to a catch a file not found error. So now if I save and run this, now you can see that we get the regular Python traceback, which is a good thing. So what happened here is it came in and it opened up this file, and that was the error that we were trying to catch. And then this was an unexpected exception here.
Oh, I can make it different as well. Oh, but that's not gonna make sense. Well, I think I'm gonna paste the same mistake, same thing, that is wrong with the other one. Is wrong with this one. I'm gonna print this to see what it is first. But I wonder if there's a way to do it with the
Here. And
using
you
R.
can see here
There's
that it
probably
is a
is
name error, and we're
probably
only
is a way.
catching file not found errors. So it didn't get caught, and it didn't execute this code here, and instead it just printed out the default Python traceback. Now, if we do want to catch more general exceptions, then we can actually add another except below this. And so if I say accept an exception, and then within here, I'm just going to print, let's see, I'll just print sorry, something went wrong. Now, if you do handle multiple exceptions like this, be sure that you are putting the more specific exceptions at the top, and the more general ones the further that you go down. Because if I was to put this general exception here at the top, then it's always going to hit that one first, and it'll never get to the file not found error. Now, currently we're printing out some custom messages here, but if I wanted to just print out the exception that it threw, then I can just do as, and you can name this whatever. I'm just going to say as e, and I can print out e, and I can also do this for the file not found error too. So I'll do as e, and instead of this custom message, I will print out e. And if I run that, you can see that it comes down to this exception here, and instead of printing out a custom message, it prints out the exception that we hit, which is the bad var is not defined. So if I just get rid of this line of code and then run that, then it runs successfully. If I give this a bad file name and run that, you can see that it says error number 2, no such file or directory, and then the file name. Okay, so that's a quick look at the try except blocks. Now what's the deal with the else and finally blocks down here? So first let's start out with the else, and we'll uncomment this. Now what the else does is it runs code that needs to be executed if the try clause doesn't raise an exception. So for example here, let's say that this didn't run an exception here, so I'm going to make this the correct file name, and now I'm just going to print out the contents here, and then I'm also going to close the file. So I'll do an f.close. So if I run this, our try isn't going to throw an exception because we have the correct file name here. And then since it doesn't throw an exception, it's going to execute the code that's within the else clause. So it prints out the contents of the file and then it closes the file. And if I open up this file file here, you can see that it just says test file contents, and that's exactly what got printed out down here. Now, you might wonder why we just didn't put this in our try block. So we could move this up here and just execute this underneath. And if it throws an exception, then hopefully it's one that we'll catch anyway. Now, you could do that, but like I was saying earlier, that we want to be specific about what it is that we're actually trying to catch here. So if I move this code up here, then it may throw an exception, and we may catch that exception, but it may be something that we weren't trying to catch, and it may just be an accident. So it's better to just go ahead and put that in the else clause, or to just put it after the try block altogether. Okay, so now we come to our finally clause. So like I was saying, the else clause only runs if we don't throw an exception.
I feel like they're gonna just say the basic stuff, probably.
Guys, what's up? This is Kazi from cleverprogrammer.com. In this video, we are going to talk about Boolean logical operators. So in the last video, we covered the basic jujitsu of Boolean algebra, kind of like what is the basic, most fundamental ideas behind Boolean algebra. And we saw that everything that we talked about converts to true or false, right? So here we have all these things converting to true or false. That's effectively what ends up happening at the end. So now let's go and talk about the operators that I was mentioning. Okay, so before I start giving you their rules and how they are defined in the world of electricity or logic gates or programming for that matter, I want to just give you guys an intuitive sense of how it works, because that's way more important than memorizing these, truth tables for a lot of these cases. So let me try to give you guys an intuition. So let's start off with AND. Okay, we're gonna start off with this logical operator. As you can see, it's a special word in Python, which is why it highlights to orange. If you write ask you that question, and you could only answer with yes. If I ask you, do you like pizza and ice cream, is equal to false. These are now combined. So when you're answering, you give you some problems and throw it at your face. Okay, false and false. Quickly throw pizza or doing homework. If you had to answer that with a true or false, what would you say? Do you like pizza or doing math homework? If you could only answer with a true or false,
I can use AND and false as well. It's actually a good point. Now let me see first what this prints. What? Oh, I can print this here as well. It should be inside the thing. But why is this giving me a mistake now? Okay, so this is the problem. I'm gonna comment this and see if I can run it. Yeah. Oh, it has to have the backslash. Forgot about that. Because plus is a special character in regex. Let me see if this works now. Yeah, it doesn't work. Oh, I forgot the brackets here. For the outside. So it's equal to none. If I do it like this. Because it has to be different than none, I feel like. Because the first one is plus. So operator equals plus. Yeah, now I found a match. So this is our operator on regex. So it's either plus or minus. So I can do this. Is equal to none. True was the way I was doing before, redoing everything. Now it works. Let's see if I put yeah, nice. The other way I was thinking about is making either true or a value statement, like the guy was saying in the video, and then making both of them have to be true or false. Or making the or statement, but yeah, I think this works. And the re.search returns an object when it matches. I think it's good to remember that. Try to remember that. Yes. Yeah, so now let me think about it. I think the conditional, the errors are, they work, at least here. I'm not passing the test, but doesn't matter as long as you can make it work. Now I have to understand this width, I think. Then after that, the result. Oh yeah, and I need to put them on a different list, an empty list, and then I'm gonna join the list later. Maybe F is stands for format. That F that I had to put there on the beginning of the string to put the variables. However, it's possible to insert a curly brace with nested replacement field. The limitation doesn't affect the format function. Meaning of the various alignment options is as follows. Forces the field to be left aligned within the available space. This is the default for most objects. So this is forces the thing to be aligned to the right. And I'm not sure. I think it should be like this. And I'm not sure if I need this or not. I think I'm gonna search on YouTube for string formatting. Yeah, it doesn't work. Maybe it has to do, I need to put a backslash before. Because it's a special character. If it's a decimal integer, defining the minimum total filled with including any prefixes, separators, and other formatting characters not specified in the field with will be determined by the content. No explicit alignment is given, preceding the width field by a zero. Correct character enables sign-aware zero padding for numeric types. This is equivalent to a field character of zero and alignment type of equal. Or maybe I need to put it on curly braces. I don't remember exactly how she did it, but I know there's. I think she did it with. Yeah, it's curly braces, I think, and these dots. That's how it's done. Aligning the text and specifying a width. So this is left align and this is right align. But I'm not sure if I should put it on strings or not. I think probably not. And here instead of 30, I put it like this. Hmm. So what's wrong here? Let's try with the putting on the string. Yeah. Oh, maybe it's dot format. Let me see if there's a video about this.
Hey everybody, how's it going? In this video, we're going to be looking at string formatting operations in Python. Now, a lot of people know the basics of string formatting, but there are a lot of options beyond the basics.
I'm gonna go to the bathroom real quick. Let's take a piss.
that are available that will allow us to format our strings in exactly the way that we want. So I'm going to run through a few examples here really fast just to show some of the different things that we can do with formatting our strings. So first of all, if you're not already using some kind of formatting when you print out your strings, then you definitely should be. So sometimes I'll see people using string concatenation to display information, and that's exactly what I'm doing on this first line here. And there are a few things wrong with this. So you can see, first of all, it's not very readable. You have to open and close strings in different places. Plus you have plus signs everywhere. Whenever you have an integer, you have to cast those to strings. And also you have to remember to put spaces in the correct location. So this middle string here, I have to remember to put in a space at the beginning and at the end. And if I mess that up, then it can bunch my string together when I print it out. So you can see if I run this code that it does work, but there are much better ways to do this. So it's much easier to use the formatting option, and that's what we're going to take a look at here. So let me uncomment out this. So you can see that this is a lot easier to read. Now we have these braces here as placeholders, and after our string closes, we run this format method, and then we pass in the values that we want to replace our placeholders with. Now, if we do it the way that I did here and don't add anything to these placeholders, then what it's going to do is it's just going to pass our first value here to our first placeholder and our second value to our second placeholder. Now, if you want to, you can explicitly number your placeholders. So in this example here, it's the exact same example, but now I've numbered my placeholders. So now what this is saying is that we want this 0 here is the first value that you pass into format, and then this 1 is the second value that you pass into format. And if I save that and run it, you can see that it still works. Now, this is more useful when you have placeholders for values that need to be repeated. So in this next example that I have here, you can see that I have this tag variable and this text variable. So in my string, I'm putting the tag in some opening brackets here, and then I'm putting in a placeholder for the text, and then I'm putting the tag inside these closing braces here. And then the values that I pass into format, tag will go where all of the zeros are for our placeholders, and text will go where the 1 is for our placeholder. So if I save that and run it, you can see that it prints out the value that we expected. Okay, so now we can also grab specific fields from our placeholders. So in our previous example, we were passing in a dictionary to our format, and within our format, we were accessing the name and the age of this dictionary from directly within the format here. But we can actually access these fields from directly within the placeholders. So within the placeholder here for 0, I'm just going to put these brackets here and do name, and for 1, I'm going to do age, and then I can take these off of our dictionary here and just pass in the dictionary. So let me save that and run it, and you can see that that still works. Now, another thing that you might notice is that now you can see that I'm just passing in this dictionary into format twice. I have person and person. So really what I can do is I can just make both of these a 0 index to take the first value from format, and then I can get rid of the second value. And now what this is going to do is it's going to pass the person dictionary to all of our placeholders, and here it's going to access the name, and here it's going to access the age. So if I save that and run it, then you can see that it still works. Now this is also how you would access values of a list too. So for example, let me do L equals and make a list here, and I'm just going to do the exact same value. So I'm going to do gen and 23, and here I'm going to pass in that list, and now instead of name, I'm going to grab the first index there and then the next index and save that and run it, and you can see that that works also. Okay, so that is how you access values from dictionaries and lists, but you can also access attributes in a similar way. Okay, so I have a small test class here called person, and this has a name attribute and an age attribute, and then here I'm making an instance of this class person with the name Jack and the age 33. Now, if I want to print this out, it's almost the same as what we did with the dictionary, but now instead of using the brackets, we're just going to use this dot attribute to grab format. So for my example that I have here, I have my placeholders, and I'm just passing in some keywords into the used to print out, and I'll do the age as. So in this example that I have here, all I'm doing here is looping through and printing out the numbers 1 through 10. So now a 0, 2 here, and if I save that and run it to do decimal places. So here I have pi written out and my colon so that it knows that we want to do some, and it does up to 3 decimal places. Okay, so let's look at an example for, say that we wanted to print out a large number, and we wanted some comma separators so that it was more after we wanted to display up to 2 decimals. So let's take a look at an example. Extremely useful if you need to print out.
Let me try to put a number here, since if it works. To do exactly like the thing was doing. I think it was the previous one. Where was it? Here. Here. Empty expression is not allowed. If I erase this, then it works. So how do I do this? If I understand, I have to put it this format stuff at the end. This dot format at the end of the string. So I might have to do three separate strings and concatenate them together with the plus. But I don't think that's the way she did it, and it's probably not the best way to do it as well. Maybe this is just to align the text and not the. Well, but yeah, that's what I want to do. Or maybe I just want to align the line and not the text. Maybe this should be in curly braces as well. Same way that it is here.
Out date time information. It allows us to display the information in just about any way that we want. So it's especially useful if you're printing out dates for logs or creating reports or anything like that. So I just created a date here for September 24th of 2016. So if I just print out that date variable, then you can see that it's not too bad. It's pretty easy to tell what it's doing. It's printing out the year, the month, the day, and then the hours, minutes, and seconds. But let's say that we wanted it in this format here. We wanted the month, the day, and then a comma and the year. So let's take out this print statement here and let's try to do that. Okay, so first of all, we're going to want to add our colon here to specify that we want to do some formatting to this. And now I'm going to go to the website and get the values that we want to use here. So we want the full month, and we can see here that the full month is %B. And we also want the day of the month, and we can see that the day of the month here is %D. And we also want the year here. And there's a couple of options for the year, but we're going to go ahead and just do the 4-digit one here with the capital Y. So like I said, it's completely fine if you don't know these formatting options. Just whenever you're trying to do something, you can look it up in the documentation and know how to get it done. So let's go ahead and pass these in. So the name of the month was a $B, and then I'm going to do the day is $D, and then I want the comma, and then the $, capital Y for the year. So let me go ahead and print that out. Okay, so that worked the way that we wanted it to. So you can see how formatting your strings like this could be extremely useful for printing out dates. So now let's do a slightly more complicated example, and let's try to do it in this format here. Let's say that we want the name of the month, the day, the comma, and the year. And then we want to say that it fell on and then put in the day of the week, and that it was the day of the year. So I want to put the day of the year here. So we want to format our string to where it looks like this. So let me uncomment out what we have here so far. Now we already know how to do this first part here. So that was just a colon, and we want our $B, $D for the day, comma, $, capital Y. So now let's also go back to the documentation and find the day of the week and the day of the year. So I'm going to go and grab that. So we can see here that the day of the week is over here at capital A, and the day of the year is this percent sign J. So if I go back here and do our colon and a percent sign with a capital A, and then over here, I'm going to do the colon with percent sign lowercase j. Now, if I just try to run this as is, then you can see that we get an error. Now, the reason that we got an error is because we have 3 placeholders, but we're only passing in 1 value to our format. So if you remember, I can just do the index here. So I can say that we want this to be the 0 index and the first value that we pass in the format. So now, even though we have 3 placeholders, it will replace all of those placeholders with our single value that we're passing in to format. So now if I run that, you can see that it gives us the output that we wanted. So now you can see here that it says September 24th, 2016 fell on a Saturday and was the 268th day of the year. So I think that's going to do it for this video. I hope it helped in knowing what all is available when it comes to string formatting, and also maybe gave you some ideas for how you can use this in your own applications.
I think I'm gonna have to split
Hi, I'm Joe
into
James. In this
2
video,
strings
we're
and
gonna
then make a different formatting for each of them.
learn how to use string formatting in Python. So in a previous video, we covered strings. In this video, we're going to go into a lot of depth on how to format strings in print statements in Python. It's
I
very
could
possible.
just also do this, but yeah, doesn't feel right. This needs to be a little bit to the left as well. Let me try to do separate lines and see if it works. Separate strings. I forgot the last one. Let's see if this works. It's probably gonna fail there because of the steps. So hash should be that way, I guess. But even then, I think it's gonna fail. Because I'm doing formatting 2 times. So the alignment's not gonna work probably. Yeah. Just gives the same output. Hmm.
False or yes or no, you should say yes, or you should say true, because there's one of those things that you like. And I asked you or, they're not connected with each other, right? A or B. So let me show you guys this in code. If I do false or true, check out what you get back. You get back a true statement, right? If I do true or false, I get back a true statement. And if I replace this with something that we understand better, let's say we don't like poison. Poison is equal to false. And let's say we do like pizza. We already have pizza as true, but I'm just going to do that again. And now let's write this statement over here using pizza and poison. Pizza or poison. Oh, I misspelled poison, but in one of my older videos I had it there, so don't worry about why it figured out what poison was. But yeah, let's just use this poison variable that we wrote here. So you can see that we get back a statement that's true because one of the things is true, and in this case that's pizza. So for an or statement to be true, only one of the things have to be true, right? If I asked you, do you like ice cream and or pizza, you would say true if you could only answer that with one thing. Just like if, again, we take Johnny or our son Bob and we go, Bob, either if you do your homework or you throw out the garbage, then you get to play. So he just goes, oh, sweet, I'm just going to throw out the garbage. So this way, he doesn't have to worry about doing homework. He decides to only do one of the tasks, and then he can play the game. But what if he went and tried to be extra nice and threw out the garbage and then went and did his homework? Would us being his dad or mom, still allow him to play? Of course, he did both of the things. Great, that's extra bonus. But for him to qualify as a player or go play his games, he really needs to do only one thing. That's what the or does in our real life, and so that's what it does in programming as well.
Shit.
So now let me just throw some examples at your face, and you try to figure it out. True or false? What do you think I'm gonna get quickly? I'm gonna get back a true. Only one of them has to be true. What if I did true or true? What am I gonna get back? True, obviously. What if I do true or sorry? Let's do false or false. Two false statements. You like poison or homework? You're gonna say no. None of them. There you go. So that's a little bit of a breakdown of or. And if I wanted to break down numerator, only one of the statements has to be true. So here, places go really crazy. You're not writing for now, but you can imagine that.
Powerful, but very easy to use. It's a cool tool to be able to use the format function in Python. I'm going to show you how to use that to format not only strings, but also numerical values. Everything from integers to floating point values to binary and hexadecimal values. So you're going to see what a powerful tool this is and how to use it in Python. And as usual, I'll post my Jupyter Notebook on my LinkedIn site, and I'll put the link down below so you can download that and run the code yourself.
Now, if you want some more documentation, you're going to see links here to the official docs and also some more documentation here, which I think is better than the string docs. So shout out to the guys out here at pyformat.info who did such a fantastic job with their documentation. I think it's easier to follow than the official docs are, but I put both links here for you. So let's walk through one example at a time so you can learn how to format strings in Python. We're going to start out by replacing a string with just positional arguments. So our format function looks like this. A string, including curly braces, followed by dot format, and then parentheses with some parameters here inside the parentheses. And in this case, all we have is one variable, first name. So first name is just the string Alex, and this is going to enable us to pass the contents of this variable, first name, into this curly brace. So in other words, when Python executes this print statement, it's going to substitute for the curly braces the contents of this variable, which is the string Alex. So what we get as an output is my name is Alex. And what we see in the print statement is my name.
That's something. It's probably not gonna work, but it's worth testing. empty string. Do it just with here. See if it does anything. You already tried this one. Yeah.
Name is curly braces. So you see how curly braces is replaced with the contents of this string, Alex. So that one's pretty simple, right? It's a positional argument. There's only one variable here. Now in the second example, we have two variables. We have first name, comma, last name. So what Python does in this case, it sees first name and it says, okay, this is an index of 0 then. This is the first one. Last name, okay, we're going to give that an index of 1. And so when we see curly braces, this is the first curly brace. So whatever is index 0 is going to be substituted into that. And then the second curly brace, well, guess what? The second positional argument is going to be substituted right into that. So what we get is my name is Alex Marshall is our output. So it's just straight substitution in the order that you pass the arguments in. There's nothing confusing about that. Next example, we can use indices if let's say you wanted to change up the order, or maybe you want to use that same string multiple times in a single sentence. So in the first example, I put indices 0 and 1. Well, that's the default, right? That's exactly what Python's going to do by default. The very first curly brace is going to be replaced with the contents of this string, this variable, and the second curly brace, which we have a 1, is going to be replaced with last name. So we get my name is Alex Marshall. This is the default, so this is kind of redundant to put numerical indices in there. But in the second example, you see that we swap those. We want to put last name first. We pass the arguments in first name, comma, last name, the same as we did in the last one. But now we put 1 in the first curly brace and 0 in the second curly brace. And we can also see that we use the 0 twice, which means our first name is going to appear in both of those two places where we have a 0. So what the result we get is my name is Marshall, comma, Alex, first name Alex. So you see the curly brace 0 means first name to Python, and curly brace 1 means last name to Python, because this is the second variable that was passed in inside the format function. So numerical indices is another way of passing in arguments to the format function. Now let's look at alignment. We can align these substrings as left, right, or middle, and we do that by putting colon, left arrow, colon, right arrow, or colon, up arrow inside of the curly braces. So the default we already saw is align left. And so when we put this first example here, we have cases 5, 16, and 294, so there's 3 numbers. Both of these two do exactly the same thing. This means align left, but so does this. They both mean align left. So the default, not putting anything in the curly braces, is going to align left. So you see the result we get is exactly the same thing printed in both.
Why is it not working?
This tells Python to align left, but the default is also align left. So that's the align left. When you use align right or align center, you need to tell Python how much padding you want.
This is exactly what I did. N is just how much, I think. Yeah, with N patty spaces. Or maybe this was not the best type to search for this. Maybe I should put at the end there. Let me try to take this F out of here. Like they are doing here. Line means the line this will be unpacked. So format line works similarly to format line. Summing line is a list with only 3 elements. There's also this way to do it. So here he did the other way around. So I think maybe this might be inside of the format stuff. The line is not defined. So the value put on here has to be the value of the variable, I think. So this would be number 1. Maybe I take this off. Yeah, same mistake. Or maybe I need to take this off. Since I don't have the F there anymore. Put it here. But I don't know if I should use curly braces or not. Oh, apparently it works. Let's see what it gives me. Yeah, it still doesn't change anything. Let me change the number just see if it makes any difference. Nice. So let me see if I can make this up. Now it gives me a mistake. Invalid format specifier. Where is it? Here. Okay. The question is, how do I make it true so it is on the end of the line always? Do I want it to be at the end of the line, or maybe just put an arbitrary number there? I know that she did it with, so it's probably better. I'm also gonna put this into a variable, I think. Or maybe not. Because otherwise they won't be aligned. Let's put 4. Nice. I think I'm just gonna take this one out and put some spaces here. Don't remember if there needs to be specific space. There should be a single space between the operator and the longest of the two operands. So yeah, that's the issue as well. Because I have to know which one is the biggest one. And there's only, yeah, there should be only one space between them. The operator will be on the same line as the second operand. Both operands will be in the same order as provided. First will be the top one, and the second will be the bottom. Numbers should be right aligned. There should be 4 spaces between each problem. Should be dashes at the bottom of each problem. Dashes should run along the entire length of each problem individually. So it doesn't specify. Well, it should change with the problem size as well, which is something that I don't know how to do. So I think it has to be a variable, maybe. Thing is, how I'm gonna know which one is the biggest unless I do an if statement and a different string for each case. And then I will have to think about a way to put that in the formatting. But I don't know if I can put functions inside the format or if statements. Hmm.
And padding is an integer. It's not in, it's not a letter, it's an integer. So let's look at some of the examples for the padding. A line right with 5 total spaces. What does 5 total spaces mean? Well, this means the number of spaces for the integer plus the blank spaces. So that means there's going to be 4 blank spaces plus 1 space for the integer. For 16, there's going to be 3 blank spaces and 1 space for the, or 2 spaces for the integer. And for this 294, there's 3 spaces for the number. So
I can make this a variable, I think. So instead of putting a number there, I just use curly braces and make a variable. So I would have to make 2 variables, I think. Maybe that's already solves the problem, maybe. By align left by 1. Yeah, now I just need to adjust the dashes in the bottom, I think. Which is something that not exactly sure what I'm supposed to do. From what I remember, that the way she did it, she didn't use a variable true. But I'm not really sure, I don't remember really well. Maybe I need to create a variable and then put this. Yeah, but then it seems too complicated. Create a variable, then a for loop. A variable equals to this dash here. Then create a for loop based on the length of the number, the biggest number. Then put this, the size of this, the alignment equal to the size of the number. Then I will need to create another variable to, yeah, seems too complicated. If I just do this, it's gonna look right, but it's probably not what the problems ask for. Yeah, but I think I'm happy with that. Okay, so these ones are already copied there. It was just the string that I changed. Yeah. Now I need to create a list here, I think. I already have here. And then I'm gonna push append the answer to each one. Then outside of the loop, I'm gonna join. I think it's join the command, but I'm not really sure. Let's see if this works. So join is not an attribute, but I think it works. At least when I'm putting on the list.
Forget and confuse, which is converting a list to a string and string to a list. So let's get started. Okay, so to convert a list to a string, it's actually pretty easy. So let's first define our list, which will be like, I don't know, my list, and let's define a few strings inside, maybe apples, bananas, maybe oranges. And now to actually convert that list to a string, what we can do is, let's print it straight away. You should do something like this. You define a string, which is like a delimiter. So this will tell how you'd like to see your string after converting from the list. So let's say we want to convert that list and show it as a comma separated string like this, and then you do join and put the list there. Okay, and let's see how it looks. There you go. Maybe let's make it a bit bigger so you can see.
So it's the other way around. It's not returning anything. Hmm. Oh yeah, I forgot about the args as well. Another thing that I have to do. Maybe I just need to make this equals this. So the problem is that it's not joining with the spaces. I need to figure out a better way to join them. It is joining with the space, but it's not what I want apparently. I think it's 4 spaces that they ask for. 4 spaces within each problem. Let's see if I change them out, it changes anything. It still doesn't work. Maybe if I make a new line for each one, but they are still one on top of the other as well. Put a comma here. I don't understand why this happens. In my mind, it should be one beside the other. Maybe I should do with the way that the formatting works with the strings. So how can I search for this? Maybe after I append them, I format them. If that's a better way to do it. The other way that I'm thinking about is putting the numbers first, then I can create 3 arrays, 3 lists. One with the numbers, one with then make different lines. And then make the answer the sum of the lines with the formatting that I want. That's also an idea, I think. So I can make number list, number one list, operator list, operator and number two list. Then I will put 4 spaces between them. Yeah, I think that's better. That seems easier. Just make sure that I have this one saved. So I'm gonna now I have to think about. I think I'm gonna. I have to append the operator first, then number two. I'm just gonna print number one list and the second list. And something went wrong, probably because of the stuffs. So I have to do one after the other. And here I'm gonna return. I'll open them for now. Okay, so number one is all the right values. And number two has the operators accordingly. Then I'm gonna make the first line equals to that should be the other way actually. 1, 2, 3, 4. In the second line, I'm gonna join. Oh, actually, gonna twist it. With one space. Well, maybe I should just join them. And I forgot the dots as well. But I can put that in the end, I think. I can make a third line. Maybe I should join them without a space. And put the space in the formatting afterwards. Because I don't know which one is going to be the largest number. Actually, I need to join them first, now that I think about it. I can either try to figure out a way to put both of them in the same index in the list, the number and the operator, and then join them later with 4 spaces, or I can put the 4 spaces after. I can do another variable and format the spaces as well. Or just add them manually as well. But that doesn't seem really good. To be honest, I think I already got the way to do this. I think I'm just gonna look at her solution. I think the stuff that I had to learn, I already feel like I've learned. Now it's just a matter of deciding which way is best. And I think this string formatting is really important to learn. It's probably really useful. So it's probably better to spend some time watching videos about that and reading the documentation rather than trying to figure out how to do the problem. Yeah, I think I will take a break now. Then I'll probably come back later today and I will read this documentation again, watch some videos about string formatting. Then, yeah, I'm gonna do the rest of the problem offline, and I'm gonna put a link to her YouTube video on mine, showing her solution, and I'm gonna try to integrate this stuff that she did, this one. Then I'm gonna read this string stuff, documentation, watch some videos about string formatting. Then I'm thinking about also watching some relativity stuff that I haven't watched in a long time, since the last time I streamed, which was a long time ago. So I think that's what I'm gonna do when I come back. But I'm gonna take a break for now, so see ya.